Hello, this is Paul Nicholson, and this is for Darren Fletcher Golf, so check it out on YouTube. And this is my what's in that bag. What better place to start than with the big stick? And it's a driver I've had for a few years, and I don't see any reason to change it. You can see that, and you'll probably find the theme of this is Titleist, because I am a bit of a Titleist fan. This one is the 917D2, which has got a few scuffs on the bottom, as you can see, and a few on the face. But this one sends it out there to as much as I can get out there, probably between sort of 245 and 265 on a warmer day, and there's no reason to change it. What you'll see with my clubs though is that pretty much all the grips are the same. I went for the slightly thicker Golf Pride multi-compound, which is a bit thicker at the bottom. It just makes you feel like you've got more in your hand as opposed to it tapering off a bit more. But you can see it's got the Fujikura shaft as well, which is a little bit stiffer than the sort of regular shaft. I'm not the strongest person in the world, but I'm not the weakest, so I need something sort of in between. But 3 wood goes back a little bit more. I bought this club, the 915F, from Titleist at a golf shop in Aberdeen, just on a whim, because I felt like I needed a new 3 wood. And I don't hit a lot of fairway woods anyway, because I'm not one of those guys who pounds the golf course with loads of length. I tend to be a bit more precise than that. But this 3 wood gives me exactly what I need off the tee from a 3 wood. It's a 16.5 degree 915. It sends it out there brilliantly. And I think it's a great club. And again, no reason to change that to a newer model at this stage. Having said that, I used to buy a lot more golf clubs when I was younger. I used to change my driver every year. Can't really afford to do that anymore when you've got more responsibilities. Moving on to the rescue club, which I've got, which it's a 2-iron rescue. Again, it's Titleist 818, and this has been a real banker off the tee during the summer months. If you want to send it out there about 220, 225, this will get it done. Stiff shaft. It's got the Pittsburgh Steelers colour on the grip. For some reason, I wanted that one to be different. Very unlike me to have one club that's got a different grip, but this is a real favourite of mine, this club. Not just off the tee, but off the fairway as well. That one out of the semi-rough, I can really clip that one. Moving on to arguably my favourite club in the entire bag. Now, if you were having a conversation with my childhood friend, Chris Walker, all we did when we were kids was send the long irons out. If you live in Northumberland and on the coast and you can't hit a 3-iron, you can't play golf. So when I purchased this beauty, this Titleist TMB 3-iron, I think I hit about 3 or 4 shots with it. And I realised that this thing was going in the bag. Again, it's got that multi-compound grip with the slightly fatter bottom. It's got the KBS shaft as well, which is a little stiffer for the irons. And that's a theme that goes all the way through my iron set. But this is the only TMB I've got in the bag. All the rest of my irons are different, as you'll see. But this one's just got a bit more meat here in that TMB. And when you hit it right, you know about it. This is a superhero of a club if you can hit it right. And especially when you go to Scotland and it's a bit windy, this is the club that you need. My irons, which I've got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and pitching wedge. I haven't got the pitching wedge, which is the same as my sand wedge and my lob wedge, but all the way through the 4 to the pitch, I've got the KBS shafts again, as you can see by the red and black one there, the same multi-compound grip with Golf Pride. But we've got the Titleist AP3s. Now, previously to these ones, I had AP2s, which I had for many, many years, and I loved them. But they were getting scuffed, and they had a few chip marks on them. I needed to go and get refitted. And I automatically thought that I was going to get AP2s again. But when I got fitted, it turned out that the AP3s were better for me. The reason for that is they had a slightly fatter sole and a slightly longer blade as well, which gave me a little bit more forgiveness. And there was a bit more of a draw setting into my irons at the time, and this seemed to correct that a little bit. And consequently, my handicap last year came down from 6 to 3. So the guy who sold me these knew what he was talking about. These are great irons. I've had them for about 18 months now. Can't see myself changing these unless I absolutely have to. But again, I'm just a Titleist guy. whenever I seem to use Titleist. And I've tried other brands, don't get me wrong. I've tried TaylorMade, I've tried Cobra, had some Amsel blades, which I adored, but they were just too unforgiving. And I'd get the odd shot where you get vibes in your hands. And these, you just don't get that. A lot of forgiveness, good length, good stability in the air. And that is why I like those irons. But going on to wedges, like I mentioned, I got the pitching wedge, which is in that range with the KBS shaft. But moving on to the sand wedge and the pitching wedge, I've got two slightly different ones. So the 52 degree, which is the Vokey design. This is the SM6. This was this is from a few seasons ago, but I got it in a special offer when I bought my irons. And I like Vokey wedges. I like the size of the club head. I always thought with Cleveland wedges that the heads were slightly smaller, and I didn't feel like I was going to get enough forgiveness. And this one just seems to be the right size. I think a wedge, especially in the sand wedge and lob wedge, has got to look good when it's on the ground and give you that sense that you're going to have plenty of club head to get under the ball wherever it is. That's what the Titleist Vokey range gives me. And it's not just because it's got to match all the rest, which I think maybe on some level it has to. But luckily for me, this one seems to work. So we've got 8 degrees of bounce in the 52, as you can see there. And I've always carried a pitching wedge, a 52 degree and a 60 degree. There was a time where I had a 56 in between, but I just didn't feel like I was using it. If I need something with a little less loft than a 52, I'll just open the face a little bit more. And that one gets used an awful lot, between sort of 90 and 105 yards. Last one in the bag, which is the lob wedge. Another one of my favourites, because this one gets me out of trouble. Again, when you live in Northumberland and you're practicing on what is pretty much a football field, you've got to know how to use a wedge. And my first pitching wedge I had, I think, was a pin seeker with polka dot grip on it. It was an awful club, but if you can use that, this will be easy. So this is an SM5, so we're going back a little bit further. Pretty simple. This one's got a few scuff marks on the leading edge, so I need to get that filed down. But 60 degree with less bounce. I like a nice straight edge on my lob wedge. I don't want it to have a lot of bounce. I know there are a lot of people out there who want that, but I want it to be quite edgy. And this from, say, 55 to about 75 in, or any sort of trouble, this one has saved me a lot of shots and allowed me to keep my handicap in single figures for the last few years, actually. Right. Moving on to the flat stick, which is probably the one that I've struggled with the most, but I do have 2 Scotty Cameron putters. One is a Scotty Cameron Newport 2.5, which is the first Scotty Cameron I ever bought, and I said I would never sell that, and I'm not going to. But this one's a bit newer. I've had this about less than 2 years. It's again a Newport 2.5 with a slightly chunkier grip, as you can see. It's a 35 inch as well, so it's an inch longer than the usual one you would find. So I wanted to have a little bit of extra height on it because I wanted to stand nice and tall over my putts. This is a beautiful, beautiful putter. They aren't cheap, but if you look after them, they will look after you. I think this is the perfect putter for me. I haven't found another one that allows me to putt so well from shorter distances, as well as my lag putting, and I don't see me changing this at all. If my putting's bad, it's because of me. It's not the putter. This is the perfect putter for my height, for my weight, and for what I want from it. And she's doing all right for now. Moving on to some other things. I've got the smaller version of the Titleist Tour bag from a couple of years ago. I think a nice bag just looks nice, and I've got it on a click gear cart, which I've had for about 10 years. I've replaced one brake wear on that thing, and it's been an invaluable purchase. So if you haven't got a decent trolley, I would highly recommend a click gear. I think they've got some with 4 wheels now, which are even better. But looking at some of the things in the bag, obviously tees you've got to have. They're the ones I buy. They're the kind that I stole from Castle Stewart. You've got to have a few from a nice course. And there's some black ones there from the London Club in Kent, which beautiful course if you've never been there. Things that I always carry, Titleist Pro V1X. I like the lower ball flight as opposed to the normal Pro V1. The X is the ball that I've pretty much used for the last 7 or 8 years. I've always said that the best golf ball I've ever used was the Strata Tour Ace, which didn't have numbers on it. It had a club, a spade, a diamond, or a heart on it. And they were an annihilating golf ball. They went so far out there, ridiculous amount of spin, and then they stopped making them. So I had to find something else, and it took me a long time to find a new ball. But Pro V1X, that's my ball now. Things I never forget, ball marker. This one's from Blackpool. Not my happiest hunting ground in darts, but I got one of these from Heron's Reach, which is where I stayed for a few World Match Play Championships, and that always seems to follow me around. Titleist Player's Glove, that's the best one I can find. Other ones I've tried, but this one seems to be the best one. Everybody knows I love sunglasses, so I've got to have a pair of sunglasses in the bag, haven't I? And these are Flak Jacket Oakleys. I've got a couple of pairs of these. These are the ones that are just really comfortable when you're playing because they stay still. And of course, they're in Pittsburgh colours of yellow and black. So that's those. Never forget your suntan lotion. Always take that with you. Mind you, we don't need much of that in this country at the minute, do we? GPS. I was always a purist when it came to measuring yardages. I always liked to measure them myself with strides and sprinkler heads, things like that. But then I was told that I was too slow. So I ended up getting one of these little GPS devices. This one's been on the blink for a little while because I've dropped it. And I think I might need to replace it. But the Bushnell Phantom is a pretty good one, as long as you don't drop it. Aside from that, got this little Titleist bag that follows me around everywhere. And it's got all sorts of little bits and bobs in there, like a red Sharpie if you want to mark your golf balls, extra pitchforks. There's actually a little tape measure in there just in case you got to nearest the pin as well. And a little souvenir from Formby Golf Club, my favourite golf club in England. And my friend Steve Smith, the Olympic high jumper, gave me that when we went there with John Rawling. An absolutely mind-blowing day, which hopefully we'll recreate at some point in 2020 or 2021. Also got this little Old Thorns bag. Old Thorns is a golf club near Guildford. Fantastic day out if you want to try that. Take some face wipes because you do get a bit sweaty now and again, and sometimes you get a bit wet if you find yourself near the water. And this has been my card carrier for quite a few years. I bought this off an internet site of leather goods, and it's just brilliant. I've got a real sentimental attachment to some of my things. But that's the last thing. I hope you've enjoyed this What's in the Bag with me, Paul Nicholson. And there might even be a little bit more after this.